Hey there, this is Artsy Wisdom. My name's Diane. Thanks for coming by. Today's mystical musings, my visions that I dive into, are varied. Thank you for those of you who have subscribed recently or my new viewers. Thank you for likes and thumbs up. I love it. Thank you very much. So today I'm going to look into Riley Strain. Somebody had asked about his passing. He's that college kid that was on a trip to Nashville with his friends, and he saw. Normally, I wouldn't do that, but I've done other deaths before, but in this case, it was so recent, I wasn't sure if I should do that. But when I had seen the video, this is before he had died, saw the video on TV of him as, in security cameras, he was drunk walking down the street, and it was just painful to see that as a mother of sons. That just was very difficult. And so I wanted to see what happened with Riley. I looked into the GOP and their future because we've had a lot of defections from Republicans. And I'm also going to look into, Florida has multiple questions. Somebody had asked about a possible drop in housing prices there next year. And they're also the 14 and under social media ban. DeSantis just signed an executive order to enforce. And then there's the Supreme Court just upheld the 15-week ban on abortions there. And apparently because it went into effect, there's another 6-week ban, which would be even more stricter, that is going to somehow be in effect. But it's going to probably go to the voters in the fall. So all three of those things, Florida. I looked, like I said, GOP, Biden's health. I was wondering about his health and how he's going to do in the next year or two. Netanyahu's future, I wanted to see, because he just had some protests in Israel, and I have my version or my viewpoint perspective on what he's doing. But I also wanted to go in there in his energy again and see what the future is for Israel and for them. And Wes Moore, the governor of Maryland, he is a freshly minted governor, and he just, I think it was 22 that he won. He's younger, and he seems very energetic, but this is the first, when the bridge collapsed, he did a press conference, and I noticed some things about him, so I just wanted to go into his energy and see how his future is going to be as the governor of Maryland. People are saying he's a Democratic wunderkind, or somebody that for the future of the Democratic Party. I don't know. We'll see. So those things. All right. Let's get started. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to start off with Florida. In the past, sometimes I see food and desserts as situations or people, or even countries. This time, Ron DeSantis, I've seen him in the past as a very yucky donut that is made with poor ingredients, that has been deep fried in a really bad grease that's never been changed, and it just feels yucky. That's what I see him as. That's what that is. But when I look into Florida, I actually pulled some cards just before this, and I asked about the ban on abortions. That was the first thing I asked, because he is so very vital to these specific agendas, far-right agendas, that I was imagining him. So I got the 10 of Wands, and I got the 6 of Swords, which, I don't know if you can see that. I feel like that squirrel is flying through there, like threading the needle a little bit. And then the 3 of Cups, which the 10 of Wands is about heaviness and burdens. I think for now, yes, it's going to stick. The 15-week for sure. And there's, like I said, the clause or the way the law is written, that it may actually create a complete ban beyond 6 weeks, unless the voters take it up in the fall, which I'm very sure they will. And then I asked about the future. I got the Wheel of Fortune, the Queen of Wands, and the Page of Cups. I almost think can you see this seal inside the water, this particular deck? Page of Cups is about water, information, messages, younger people, and I think that is hidden. What I got was the timing. The timing will come. There's going to be a hard line in the future, and the Queen of Swords, and I think this is a lawsuit brought by someone in the future. And the Page of Pentacles, more information, more writings, and that's more real. That's more tangible results. So how I interpret this, yes, it's in effect now. I think in the fall, I'm going to guess. I could be crazy. I'm going to guess that it's going to stay at 15 weeks. I just think it's going to be close. And I think they're going to codify the right for women that have over their bodies, the right that women should have over their bodies and what they can do with them. Yeah, I think that is going to stay. The 15-week for sure is going to be upheld. But I don't think the 6-week ban will. I think it's going to go beyond that. Many of the states around Florida, have a ban on abortion. I think a couple of them, Georgia, I don't know which one, is when you can hear a heartbeat. And that's when they say no more abortions after that. So my point is that the energy is that way down in that area, the southeast. But I think, as I said in many videos, Pluto's going into Aquarius. We're going to get a lot more community-orientated, humanity-orientated, less about fear and divisiveness. It's going to be more about unity. So I think there will be somebody making an appeal in the courts, and there will be a judgment. And I do think that the 6-week, it won't be upheld. I think the 15-week will, but not the 6-week one. We'll see if that happens. I know these are all just my mystical musings. I don't know if they're true or not. I know. Maybe I'm just crazy. So, the Texas and Florida housing drop. Someone wanted to move there and asked if it would be a good time or if the prices are going to go down because they've been going up and up. I know insurance is going up there due to hurricanes and climate change and a variety of things. And taxes maybe, because I don't think they pay state taxes, but they're paying other kind of taxes to kind of make up for it. And what I've heard is they're second to Texas for people moving to there, and that it's sort of a delusion, or not a delusion isn't the right word. People are delusioned when they get there. It's because it's not as beautiful and beachy and pretty like it is when you're on vacation. I guess the divisiveness and the political environment is not, the atmosphere is difficult. Even no matter what side you're on, there's always somebody that wants to argue with you. So, will the housing market drop 40% is a lot. No, I don't see it dropping. In fact, I see it going up a tiny bit. Sorry, whoever. Forget who asked that. I apologize. Yeah, I don't see it going down. Unless it's in pockets. I think up 9% or something like that. Now, if we happen to have a large recession, yes, but I don't see that. Our economy is going to get stronger and stronger in the next year and a half at least, or that I can see now, unless, the things can change. But that's my view. The economy is going to get bigger and stronger. There's so much money being put into it with the infrastructure bills and other things. People have more jobs, and inflation is stable. I think it's 2.3 or something. I could be wrong. So I don't see that happening unless something, it could be a big exodus due to something our old oily donut does. Northern Florida, maybe, but southern Florida is just very expensive. And yeah, so I think that's where Miami is, but I don't know some of it. And I think Orlando's sort of in the middle. I have my aunts in Jacksonville, and I have family in the Keys. So I know it's expensive and it's limiting. So yes, okay. Nothing in the lower. It's going to probably keep going up at the top near Georgia. Maybe 10% reduction, but it's going to balance out with the higher rates down in the southern part. So if you were looking in the northern part, maybe a little bit, but not 40. So I'm sorry. All right, social media. DeSantis's executive order to ban it. No, there's going to be a workaround. I think I see it, like it is a wall. I see it stopped, but there's a workaround for people, kids. And some of it is, the kids won't be able to get on. But even if parents say it's okay, that's what I read. That is not even okay. I mean, that seems like a very big governmental oversight just from one person or one. I mean, as a group, as a state, maybe they could vote on that, but that's different. I don't see how. There was definitely going to be a wall, and it's going to stay for a while, but there's going to be a workaround. There's going to be people that are sneaking in the back door, and it's going to get more and more and more traveled. There's going to be a lot of young people and parents who use social media in some way that they need their kids to be able to access it. And so I feel like it's something like that. I don't know if it has to do. Usually schools have big firewalls, so they can't leave the school site. But I feel like it's going to be difficult for people to access it, young people. Let me pull some cards. But there's definitely going to be people sneaking around. Oh, Page of Cups again. Social media. It's going to bring up I got the Four of Pentacles. Somebody's hiding money. It's actually going to create a economy or a new business. It's a vacuum. There'll be money made in this for people to have access for their kids. Or maybe it's a technology person who can do something to a computer. And then the Hermit. This particular one, it's a praying mantis with the sun. And I think that's the change eventually. And somebody that's sneaking behind the scenes, going around, and they're making money. They've created a new economy about it. So, partially, those of people who have money or who have the access to it through different ventures or ideas will get through. I'm trying to think of the right word. Opportunistic, and those parents with money or even kids that will be able to figure out and hack it somehow. I think there might be a lot of money to be made. But for those, poor or just regular kids who don't have access to that, they won't be able to do it. Although, I was just put in the mind of when somebody wants drugs or alcohol and they can't have it, what does it make you want to do? Have it more. It becomes taboo. And then it becomes something that somebody could sell on the black market, like I said. So I don't think it's going to be upheld in the fall. If there is a voter, I'm sure somebody's going to appeal this and bring it to a ballot. And I think it's not going to be upheld. In fact, I don't even know if it's going to make it till the summer. Late summer. Yeah. All right, there we go, Florida. I do think DeSantis is popular to some degree there. And I have relatives that say he's a great leader. I guess they like stinky donuts. But he is a leader. That's for true. That's for true. That's for a fact. He is a leader. But I don't, as Pluto moves forward, and I don't even know when he's up for election. I think in the past videos I've said he will go farther and farther, recede into the back of politics. One day his wife will come forward and she's going to try and do something in politics. All right, that was Florida. The GOP. I wanted to see, I know they're having a bunch of Republicans, I don't know, it was 4 or 5 that have left the party. And I knew the convention this summer is going to look like a high school food fight. That's what I imagined, because there's going to be so much yelling and throwing and cursing and deciding. Because by then, I think it's in July, by then, Trump will have had some judges decide on his fate in several cases, in several of the cases. And if that is happening, the federal system of elections is going to we'll have to make a decision whether he can get on the ballot if he's been indicted or convicted. I shouldn't say indicted, convicted. It would be after he gets convicted, and then I think it's going to go to the Supreme Court, and they might be out in a session, and it's going to be like that. So GOP. Food fight, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, so I see a land mass, and I see the GOP on it. And there's like a tunnel underneath where all of this stuff is happening. It's very secret, but whose is it? It's what they show, is on top is what they show the American people. But underneath in this tunnel, it's a big tunnel, it's lit up. On top it's dark and there's small people, but underneath there's a lot of activity. They're talking about what they're going to do and the plans. There's actually some really smart people that are trying to plan ahead, look to the future, put in place people that are more moderate or at least just conservative and not crazy right-wing. But the voters that are Trumpists, MAGA people, they don't want to vote for those people. So they're having to be underground so they can plan when the time is right. Perhaps when Trump gets convicted and they can pull out their magic ideas and their magic planner. The GOP. If I was to see them, yeah, well, they're going to lose. And there's actually a bunch of young people lined up to be part of it, but there's a separation between what's happening now in that tunnel and the young people who might join the party later, because there's a disconnect between ideals and the reality and what these young people see. It's very disconnected. But those people underneath, those are the powerful ones. Even though I know Trump has got the power and they keep giving him all the power. The magician. 2 of Cups. Finding a partnership. 3 of Cups. Yeah, they're... And the Queen of Swords. I'm thinking they are going to have... Here's the 6 of Swords again. Threading the needle. Going between difficult things and trying to not divide, keeping things together. That sounds very vague, and I'm sorry if I'm too confusing. But the GOP's future is up in the air or underground. That's what it is. It's underground. And they are trying to figure it out without actually showing their true selves. Wheel of Fortune again. These are all the same ones that I got from DeSantis in Florida. That's interesting. Timing. That's it. Timing again. So maybe this is about the election time. Voters, maybe that's the hard line, is the election time. And that'll make the decision up when they're going to make their move. Because if Trump loses, well, he will lose. I don't even know if he'll be on the ballot. At this point, he will. Because I still see him on the ballot. He's going to be the nominee. But I don't know what that's going to look like. Because of his future convictions. I still see Jack Smith with his trenches around the election and his wall of wood spikes that he's not going to let Trump get there or be elected. But, okay, the GOP's just got some time to take care of business. Biden's health. Let's look into Biden's health. He's getting more and more fragile looking, although his mind is perfect, but the brain doesn't always, he has a stuttering problem from childhood, and he's worked through it. But as he's aging, I can see that is making him appear less able or more frail. No, I think he's an amazing president. He just is elderly. So I would love it if I knew that he was going to be okay. So I'm emotionally attached to a certain outcome here. So I have to let that go, let my ego go, let my mind go, and go into another space where I can sense his health. Yeah, I feel I'm in his energy, and I can feel him. You know how he takes those little steps because he can't, for whatever reason, he's, as we age, sometimes we get little steps. We start walking in smaller strides. His mind is great. He's just he's having a hard time reaching for things, stretching his legs out. I'm sorry, my face is itchy right here. Biden's health. I feel for the next year and a half, he's fine. In the past, I've seen something happens during his second term where Kamala Harris has to take over. She becomes president. Maybe it's in the second or third year. I don't see him having a stroke or anything, but there's something like not fluid around his heart, but something where the circulation reduces his fitness. But I know he rides a bike and used to run, I think. I can feel him out Biden's health this next year. Three of Swords, not good. I think he's sad, but he's working on it. He's sad that he's not able to, and he's just it's physically his age. They got the Judgment, and I've got this. The cross. It reminds me of a doctor's or a hospital. Three of Wands. Yeah, they'll plan. He's not feeling. He's going to work on himself though. He's continually working on his abilities, and I feel like there's going to be some more effort put there. Yeah, and the Three of Wands. I think that's later. He's going to set that up with Vice President Harris because see the two boats there? That's the two of them. And Three of Wands is waiting for your partner or your plan to come to work. And then Ace of Wands, which is beginnings. My energy, or the energy I get is he has to work on something and he's going to get, I don't know if he's going to get diagnosed with something really bad. It's just going to be, Mr. President, you have to try harder to do this and this so you can build up your energy. And I don't think it's food. I think it's just endurance. Although I know when guys are presidents, because it's always been a guy, they age so much in that position. But he's been doing this and he's gotten through this so far, which has been very difficult. Okay, so Netanyahu's future. I have said he's corrupt. I know he's corrupt. The people of Israel did not deserve what happened to them in that horrible attack by Hamas. It was just horrific. And they're still hostages. And it's that mentality of old world tribalism. And it's not going to change. I didn't see Netanyahu leaving his position. I was thinking about going into it, seeing if anything has changed since then. September, October, at the very earliest. He believes that the Gaza Strip, they want to take it back. He feels like it's their land and they need to have it, or they should have it. So it's not that much different than Russia going back to its imperial days and taking Ukraine back. Although Ukraine didn't bomb them first. But that's kind of like that vibe of it was ours and we want it back. China, Thailand, or Taiwan, same idea. And I do think they're working their way into Taiwan, but that's a side note. Netanyahu isn't going anywhere. He does have his hardliners that are in power with him, that are sticking by him. And then some of the judges and courts have ruled in his favor. And there are protests, but I think people are too nervous to go that far to where in this period when they're in the war to get him out. They won an election and they may get the election. But I think when it comes to the vote, like if they did it right now, I don't think he would lose. Yeah. All right. Netanyahu's future. I'll just pull some cards and see what I get. And while I do that, thank you again. Like and subscribe. Oh, wow. Netanyahu. Jeez Louise, I am getting the same cards. Lovers, King of Cups. I don't know his birthday. I think Lovers is a partnership. And I do think Russia, let me go back to Israel. They have, which is funny. Okay, I know this doesn't make any sense. Lovers is a partnership. But I look at this as Palestinians and Israel, like they're at odds, but they're the same, but they're different. One has oranges and the other one has white circles. So it's like two sides of a coin. So that's hard. It's like getting rid of yourself. I'm talking about the Palestinians and the Israelis. Not the Hamas people, that's different. Hamas is just terrorists. Yeah, he's going to run into trouble later. Got the skunk and Seven of Wands, which is fighting and him stealing, but then he will win. Actually, he's going to try and delay, but it looks like I'm not going anywhere. At least for now. Like I said, if he does, it won't be till the end of the year, early next year, maybe September, October. And I also saw that they are going to lose a lot of the hostages. I know they were talking about trading, but some of those hostages are already dead, or they will be by then. And that is not going to help anything. It's just so difficult. The whole situation is difficult. All right, let's move on. Wes Moore of Maryland, a man with a bright future. I saw him, I don't know if it was 60 Minutes or CBS Sunday Morning one time. Oh, 10 of Cups, the Fool, taking a leap of faith. King of Swords. I don't know if he's an air sign, but he's looking at himself as being a leader, an executive, thinker. And when I watched him at the podium when he was doing the press conference when the bridge collapsed, I felt like he wasn't comfortable. I looked at him, and maybe it's one of the first times he's had to be confronted with big tragedies in his job as governor of Maryland, and he wanted to make sure that he was saying things in a way that wouldn't be taken the wrong way or offend anybody, or also make people's minds be at ease because of what had happened. But I feel like I hate to say a baby, I feel like he's just a child, and he's learning, and he has to get through this. Like, he's going to have some bumps. But that's what I feel like. I hate to say, I feel like he was a baby, a child. Like, he was like, I'm nervous, but I have to do this thing. And even though when I saw him before, he was very articulate and confident. I didn't see that this time. But maybe he was up all night. Who knows? Knight of Swords, more swords. So he's working behind the scenes, or he's working in the scenes, to make hard decisions and quickly, because he wants to make sure that everything gets taken care of. Page of Swords. Wow. All the swords. It's a lot of air, a lot of messaging, a lot of thinking, a lot of decisions, a lot of striking with inspiration, forcefulness, leading, but quickly. Eight of Swords. Again, more swords. So I don't take this as something really bad happening. I take this as he's just worried. Maybe not in the way you and I think of worried, but he's sensing he needs to do a really good job. So it's putting pressure on himself. But I just saw a Roadrunner today. Whenever I see a Roadrunner in real life, things speed up. Or something happens that I'm not expecting, or if we're in the middle of something will come along which would change it, and all of a sudden we have to go do something quicker. And something that's been sitting still will go quicker. Yeah. So he's getting through it. So that's good. He's matching up to his personality through this situation. He's becoming his own man, gone from his little, and I hate to say the babyhood, because he's not baby, but that's the feeling. It's like just growing and changing and learning. Let's do Riley. I meditated on him before this started. And let me look at my notes so I don't forget anything. And it was hard to get in there because he wasn't there. And I thought, is he not wanting, like, I don't know, has he gone to higher realms? Is he to heaven? Because I don't know if you guys remember this, but I've said this before to my new people. We are all fractions of light. And God is the oneness that we all are together. So we are each a part of God. But when we die, we go home to that oneness. And you could call it heaven. You can call it, universal spirit or love. It's all that. But I wondered if he had gone there and he wasn't around anymore or something. I think it was like blank. And I asked his permission, as one does, to get in a person's energy. And it was almost like he wasn't aware, but I know he knows he's gone, but it was very blank. So what I did was I asked him to go back in time to the period of time where he was walking and what was going on that night. And I immediately went to the left. I went like that, like I fell off my stool or something, or I dropped down. And then I got the image of a table with drinks and food. There was some bowl, and somehow that got knocked off. And I think that may have been, like I said, I don't know. I feel like that may have been something that occurred that made the restaurant say that's done, that's enough kind of thing. And he was overserved, as they say, and they told them to leave. I believe it was him and the group, not just him. So he was, after that, it was hard to get in his energy. He was separated, and I'm sorry about that. That was weird. He was separated. He was by himself, and it was night, obviously. But I felt like I couldn't think. I couldn't talk. So it went from being this feeling of drunkenness to this feeling of I can't talk. I can't see what's happening. Well, that's not true. It wasn't not seeing, but it was more of him. He wasn't thinking he was that bad off, honestly. He was thinking, I just need to get from point A to point B, and it's okay. But I did see him at some point slump down, and it felt like an alley or next to a brick building, kind of in a dirty wall, and he was falling over. I don't know if it was wet, but it felt like it was wet there, like, like next to a wall, like grimy. And it was dirty, like behind a bar in an alley. And I could see he was trying to take out his wallet or his money, and he was just like fumbling around with it. And I think that was the point at which he decided, you know what, I think I need to find my way back or go. But it was like it may have been credit cards, and I don't even know if he had a money clip or a wallet, but he was like looking like this at it, and he was kind of laying on his side or slumped over, and he was trying to figure out how to either pay someone to get him to, like get an Uber or pay for something. But he still was really out of it. So I don't think he got any more to drink. And it was just weird how he was just blacking off. So he went to his left, and then money, and he can't talk, or no one was there. And he was trying really hard to be normal, quote unquote normal. But what he did say, I forgot to mention this when I asked, why can't I, what's going on? He said he doesn't know yet. And something about my boys, I think he was embarrassed or something about my boy, meaning his friends. And I don't even know if that's what he called them, but that is the words I got. And I think it was more of he felt bad. Bad is not the right word, but he wasn't embarrassed. He felt like he shouldn't have done that. And it just happened. Like, it wasn't like he feels really bad and I did this and I'm so sorry. I think there's some issues with mom, I think, and dad. And I think he feels really bad about that because it happened. He doesn't even realize that it happened, that he's gone. I mean, I think he knows he's gone, but it's like still, I think he's still processing. That's it. He's still processing, and it's hard to believe, but it's been at least, well, they found his body about 10 days ago, but he probably died that first night, which has been a month and a half or whatever it was. But he was trying to be normal, and he was sitting, and then eventually I see him away from the wall, and he's sitting on a rock, like a boulder. And I asked, is there somebody helping him? But then I see him by himself, like it's in the dark, and he's sitting by himself. Like he's collecting himself, trying to figure out what to do. And I do see him by water, and I know he was found farther down the river than where they were, or he was. But I really don't. I pulled some cards earlier, and one of them was the Fool, and in it, the grasshopper is leaping. And I wonder, is in his mind, if he was crossing the bridge to go back to where the hotel was. But if he did, I don't see him falling over the bridge. What I see is him going maybe across, but either way, he's on the side of the river. And actually that first night when I saw the television production on the news telling about how they're missing and they're trying to find him, the first thing I thought of was he was in the river. And I'll take it or leave it, but that's what I said. He's probably in the water. But this time, so I feel like he might have went across the bridge, but then he went down on the other side. It's either this side or the other side. But it was so, like, not right. But at the same time, not right in the mind. Like, he was not able to even speak. I don't think he was drugged, I don't think anybody hurt him. I just feel like he was alone, and he felt like he was semi-confident that he was going to get back to where he wanted to go, and he was doing this and this, but that at some point it caught up to him. And then at one point, I think I saw him saying, well, he fell into the water. All right, I'll just tell you. First thing I thought is I see him slipping on a rock, hitting his head, falling into the river, and not being able to, and then he drowns. And I need to just say that. I don't see him falling over the bridge or anything like that. I feel like he just somehow was down there. I don't know why. Unless he was walking along it. But anyway. But he was so out of it that he lost consciousness, and then he died. Yeah, it's very sad. It's so sad. And it's hard for me to accept that. I'm not even related to them, but it's just really sad. But I do feel like he was confident enough, and he was like not that worried. He was going to find his way back. And I don't know if it was because he was so drunk that he didn't really realize what he was doing. Well, obviously it did affect him somehow because he died, but I don't think it was foul play. The only thing it could, when he was getting his money out, he was thinking about asking somebody or looking to see, maybe he was thinking about going somewhere else and getting a drink again or finding some place to go into. But it was real, like, muddled and blurry. I don't know. I do feel like somebody talked to him briefly, but it wasn't any negative thing. They were just saw him in that place when he was laying down or next to the wall. He was sitting. Oh well, poor Riley. A couple positive things. The U.S. Senate actually got something done. The committee that oversees medical products, I'm not sure what the name of it is, but they forced the manufacturers to cap inhalers at $35. And they also, I believe last year, I think it went into effect this year, they capped diabetes medicine, insulin, at $35. And which is a godsend for a lot of people on a fixed income. I have a friend who's got diabetes, and that insulin was so crazy expensive. She got a second job to cover her costs because it was just too much. And she didn't want to, empty her savings because she needed medication. So for millions of Americans, I'm sure that's a positive thing. All right. Thank you again. And I hope to see you again. I will next time, I think I'm going to look into some more Trump stuff. And by then, maybe this gag order, I'm going to see how he does with that. And cryptocurrency. It's actually up and down. And I have a hard time doing that, but I'm going to try. Till next time.